Hey everyone, Ryan from Ebike Escape. Welcome back to Wisconsin, where clearly it's winter. In this video, we're going to be reviewing a moped style electric bike. This is the Zugo Rhino. So let's get into the review. Before we get into the walk around, if you found my review helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you use our affiliate link down in the description. Clicking that link before making your purchase with Zugo is a free and easy way to help support the channel and makes videos like this one possible. I'll also include links to our electric bike accessories list, top e-bike brands page, and finally our electric bike discounts code page, where we track all the deals on the electric bike brands that we follow. With that, let's check out the Zugo Rhino. If you aren't familiar with the channel, first we'll do a walk around, then we'll get into some first-person riding footage, and finally some third-person riding footage, where I'll give you my concluding thoughts on this electric bike. Obviously, with this frame design, this is a moped-style electric bike. Now, Zugo is a new company to me, so if you've already purchased one, do me a favor, as well as people looking at this electric bike, and let us know your experience down in the comment section below. Now, as of recording this in late 2022, they offer just one model. It's the Rhino, but it's offered in two different frame designs, the high step, which you see here, and the step through. And what's really cool is they recently reduced the price of this electric bike. I'm not sure if it's a permanent change, but this bike is currently priced at $18.99. It's offered in three different colors: black, white, and a really cool iridescent purple. That's personally the one that I would opt for because it's such a unique look. And if it were me, I'd also go with the step-through version as opposed to the high-step version, just because it's more accessible. The other change that you can make at checkout is the battery. We'll show you the battery towards the end of the walk around, but this is a 15.6 amp hour battery, and you can get a 21 amp hour battery for currently $200 extra. I personally would highly recommend considering the 21 amp hour battery if you're looking at this bike, just for the increased range, especially if you're going to be using it as a moped style electric bike. Let's jump into the components. We have hydraulic disc brakes. Definitely prefer hydraulic over mechanical, and it's something that I expect more at this price point. They are not name brand. You can see there's just a Zugo logo on them. But in my experience, these perform just fine, and they actually look similar to some other hydraulic disc brakes I've tested out on other electric bikes. They are paired with 180 millimeter rotors. We have a bolt-on front axle, so just a note, it's not going to be quite as easy to remove that front wheel as if it were a quick release. As with a lot of moped style electric bikes, we have 20 by 4 inch wide tires. You can see there's snow all over this. I've actually been riding it around in snow, and these fat tires are pretty capable, especially if you lower the tire pressure riding in snow, though deep snow is going to be a challenge. And these tires do have some tread on them, so it certainly would be capable taking it out on some fire roads, things like that. We have metal fenders, front and rear, not a ton of coverage up here in the front. Certainly going to still get some splash, especially riding around in rain. Before I jump into the suspension, I just want to talk about this frame. If you've been watching the channel for a long time, this frame may look familiar. It's because this is almost identical to what was previously the Aerial Rider D-Class, which is no longer for sale. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I actually like this frame quite a bit. I think for a moped style electric bike, it looks quite nice, but I wanted to point it out. And like the D-Class, it also has a inverted front suspension fork. Now, the suspension fork isn't an air fork or anything, but it does provide some comfort. I'll go ahead and push on the front suspension so you can get an idea of what to expect. And certainly this double crown front suspension adds to the really cool looks of this moped style electric bike. And of course, as we see on most moped style electric bikes, we have this halo ring around the outside. Looks really cool. Now, I always like the rechargeable flashing lights that you can put on your handlebars. Just allows motorists to see you a little bit easier in the daylight. But certainly this front headlight on this bike is going to be much more visible compared to some of the other lights that we see integrated on other electric bikes. I'll show off the cable management. They did a little bit of wrapping here, but certainly could have done a better job. I really like when it's wrapped all the way from the top all the way down into the frame. So you might want to look at purchasing some extra if you really like your cables looking nice and neat. You can see the cables enter on what I'll call the top tube here on both sides. And we also have some cables running along the down tube here. Let's jump into the cockpit. We have locking grips. They don't have a ton of padding on them, but I do prefer that they went with locking grips because they're just not going to move around over time. Zugo matching hydraulic disc brakes, as I already talked about. We have the motor cutoffs here, so as soon as you hit the brakes, it's going to cut power to the motor. Moving on to the shifter, we have a Shimano trigger shifter, which I personally prefer compared to the very entry-level thumb shifters that we see on many electric bikes. To go down gears, you're going to use your thumb, and you use your trigger finger to go up gears. They also include a bell. Now the Zugo comes with a left-hand thumb throttle, and then here are the controls to control the display, which is actually mounted lower. Let's talk about the display. It's a display I've seen a couple of times in bright sunlight. If you catch the glare just right, it's a little bit difficult to see. You have battery capacity in the top right-hand corner. You have your light indicator. You can turn on and off the lights using the power button. Miles per hour, front and center, and then we have speed max and speed average. It actually switches between them every so often, which is nice. And then distance, odometer, as well as trip. Now for pedal assist levels, you have 0, 1, Eco, 2, Eco, 3 goes into standard, 4 is also standard, 5 is turbo, and then you can unlock pedal assist level 6 and 7. Stay tuned for the first-person riding footage where I demonstrate how to do that. That'll make this a Class 3 electric bike. Moving down from the cockpit, we have a very unique drink holder here. And there are some bosses on the down tube, metal Welgo pedals that we see on many electric bikes. Kickstand located towards the rear, even in this deep snow, it's holding the bike up just fine. I really like that the company includes these really nice foldable pegs for a passenger. And again, the rear hydraulic disc brake with 180mm rotors. Let's talk a little bit about this moped style saddle. It does have some Zugo branding, and what I find with most of these moped saddles is they're fairly comfortable. They don't offer a ton of padding, but in my opinion, they are adequate. There are some people that go ahead and buy custom saddles and get something that looks really unique. You can get leather colors. There's a handful of companies that are offering customized saddles that you can check out if you're interested. Now, something Zugo did do that is unique to this frame is they added this cover plate and they put their logo here, but this covers the battery, which is hidden underneath the seat. Now, before I remove the battery, the lights are always on in the rear, but when you have the lights turned on in the cockpit and you have that light indicator on, the lights do go brighter when you hit the brake. However, as with most lights in the rear of electric bikes, they leave a little bit to be desired, especially in daylight. With the plate here, they move the locking mechanism below. You do not need the keys in here to ride this electric bike. To unlock the bike, simply turn the key to the left and slide the battery out. Again, this is a 48 volt, 15.6 amp hour battery. Again, on a moped style electric bike, I would highly recommend you at least consider the 21 amp hour battery. It does have a power switch here in the rear, so make sure that is turned on in case you have any issues. It might just be that the switch is turned off. Charger port is located beneath this cover that slides off. And there are rails. That's what the battery slides onto in the rear of the bike. And to put the battery back, just make sure it gets on the rails and push it into place, and you can remove the keys. I always like to make sure that it is seated properly and the battery is indeed locked. Again, in the rear, we have a matching metal fender that doesn't give you as much full coverage as we typically see. Let's talk about the motor. This is a Bafang 750 watt motor. Again, stay tuned for the first-person riding footage. I'll show you what this motor is capable of, and we'll take it up our large hill climb test. For derailleur, they opted for Shimano Altus derailleur that we see on so many electric bikes. Though if you're riding this like a moped style electric bike, you probably don't even care what kind of derailleur that they have on here. But I have to say, as far as gearing, Zugo did a really good job. If you do plan to pedal this electric bike, I talk a little bit more about that in the first-person riding footage, but we have 11 to 28 teeth in the rear, and in the front, we have a massive 56 tooth front chainring. And what that does is it still allows you to provide human power even at speeds higher than 20 miles per hour if you unlock this as a Class 3 electric bike. Now this is a cadence sensor electric bike, and you can see they're using one of the exposed discs. You can actually see the magnets here, and that's what gets read to tell the motor whether you're pedaling or not. A lot of companies have now gone away with the external ones and have more internal ones. So perhaps that's an upgrade that Zugo can make in the future. Though if this does happen to crack, it's a pretty easy part to replace. On the chainstay, they do not have any protection here, so you might want to check out our electric bike accessories list. We have some tape listed, and you can put that here, and that'll just help protect your frame from any chain slap and keep your frame looking really nice. All right, that wraps up the walk around. Let's get into some first-person riding footage and see what the Zugo Rhino can do. All right, first-person riding footage on the Zugo Rhino. Before we get to testing this bike out, I do want to override the speed. This is a card that Zugo gives you to unlock Class 3 mode. So I'm going to hold down the M button, and it asks for a password. I'm going to type in 06, using the pedal assist up and down, hit M to confirm, 0606. And then I've unlocked pedal assist 6 and 7, which should get me up to 28 miles per hour. It's showing pedal assist 7. And there we go, 6 and 7 on the display. Now this does come shipped as a Class 2 electric bike. And we are in less than ideal conditions here. So I'm actually going to ride on the road to avoid some of the ice. And I have the speedometer app by Cool Nix. You're unlikely going to be able to see the Rhino display. We'll get out of the slush here. And our first test will be throttle only. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, throttle only. 2, 3, 4, 7, 12, 16, 17, 19, and the Zugo display is reading right at 20, and the GPS is just reading 19. All right, now let's go into the various pedal assist modes. Now I view some of these moped-style electric bikes as really moped-style electric bikes that you're likely not going to be pedaling. But in case you do plan to do a little bit of pedaling, I have it in pedal assist level 0 right now, going about 9 miles an hour in first gear. And this actually feels pretty good. Nice, easy cadence. Again, not the most comfortable pedaling position. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 2. Feel the motor a little bit there. I could maybe shift up to second gear. All right, pedal assist level 3. There we go, feel the motor a little bit more there, going up to 12, 13. Gonna shift up to third gear. Again, a nice leisurely cadence, not providing too much effort. Cadence that I could do for a long period of time. Let's go into pedal assist level 4. All right, feeling a lot more power there. Probably shift up to fourth gear. And I'm kind of hearing the motor cut off here at 15 miles an hour or so. Let's go into pedal assist level 5. Feel the motor there, even more. Fifth gear. All right, there's 20 miles an hour, so that's gonna be how it comes shipped. And pedal assist 6. There is a slight incline here. 22. Still feels pretty good in this fifth gear. All right, pedal assist level 7. 23. 24. Could maybe shift up to sixth gear, but the gearing is really good on this bike. 24. 25. And I am putting in a decent amount of effort to try to get going a little faster. It looks like 25 miles an hour, there's 26. Down a slight downhill. Now the display is reading 28 miles an hour, which is what they kind of advertise as the top speed. So there you have it. Top speed of 25 or 26 miles an hour. So that's how the bike performs on flat ground, but let's see how it does up our large hill climb test. Time for the hill climb test. This is the hill that we test out all of the electric bikes that we review, so you can compare and contrast. We'll put a picture on the screen of the hill because the GoPro makes it look so much smaller than it is. We'll also put the specs up there as well. And our first test will be throttle only. And one thing I also wanted to note, in pedal assist level 0, you still have access to the throttle. Just something to be aware of because that differs depending on the electric bike. Getting up to that 19 miles an hour or so on the GPS. I feel like the display is just reading a little bit higher. Again, this is advertised as a 750 watt motor. $17 miles an hour. $16, $15, and it looks like it might be holding us at 15 miles an hour as the minimum speed. That's usually the speed people are interested in if you're comparing motors. Again, I am a lighter rider at around 145 or so pounds, so just keep that in mind as well. And just like that, we're at the top of the hill. So minimum speed 15 miles an hour, pretty impressive, about what I would expect. And especially on a moped style electric bike, you want to make sure the motor is powerful enough to get you up hills if you don't plan on pedaling. But of course, this is an electric bike, so I'm going to head back down the hill and do it again while pedaling. Okay, hill climb test while pedaling. And I always like to talk a little bit about the brakes coming down the hill. I hit a speed of 27 miles per hour, slammed on the brakes, and these brakes feel plenty capable. No complaints from me. Even in this wetness, it got me to a stop very fast. All right, what I'm most curious about is to see if in pedal assist 6 and 7, if I get any more performance from the bike. So I'll go through the pedal assist levels pretty quickly. And here in pedal assist level 1, first gear, I would personally want to be in a higher pedal assist. There's 2. Now I'm imagining I could save the battery and go up the hill a little bit slower at 8 miles an hour. But let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 3. Still putting in some effort in first gear. Let's go in pedal assist level 4. Really felt the motor kick in there, and I could maybe shift up to second gear. Again, putting in some effort, but not overly exerting myself. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 5. That's going to be the highest pedal assist out of the box, unless you override it, of course. Could go into third gear maybe, but let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 6. And you can really feel the extra power in those higher pedal assist modes. And there's 14. Let's go into pedal assist level 7. Could maybe shift up fourth gear. And there's 15 miles an hour, 16. And nice leisurely cadence, 16, 17 miles an hour. So it seems like pedaling might help a little bit, but not overly so. Of course, with the smaller battery on this particular model, it would be good to pedal from a stop to get the bike going a little bit and up hills to conserve that battery if you are going on a longer ride. With that, let's get into some third-person riding footage, and I'll give you my concluding thoughts on the Zugo Rhino. The Zugo Rhino isn't the most affordable moped-style electric bike, but it certainly is one of the more affordable moped-style electric bikes. While most moped-style e-bikes seem to be going upmarket, well into the $2,000 price point with massive batteries, 52-volt systems, and being questionably legal in most places in the United States with wink 750-watt motors, Zugo has gone with, let's call it, a more reasonable moped-style e-bike. And as with all these moped-style e-bikes, the key specs are motor power and battery. The average size 15.6 amp hour battery spec goes for $18.99, and the 21 amp hour version, giving you just over a kilowatt hour of capacity, goes for a $200 premium at $20.99. Not bad. Range is estimated at 30 to 60 miles on the smaller battery and 50 to 80 miles on the larger capacity battery. These estimates seem plausible, but if you're relying on the throttle heavily and traveling at high speeds, you'll surely be hitting the lower end ranges of those estimates. The Bafang 750-watt motor is plenty capable. It's not knock your socks off power. Again, they are clearly selling this e-bike to abide by current regulations in the US, but it's more than enough for a vast majority of riders. And even without pedaling, it's plenty thrilling. These Bafang 750-watt motors are found on plenty of e-bikes, moped or not. The hydraulic disc brakes, while Zugo branded, performed well in our testing, and the gearing was clearly well thought out, knowing that riders are definitely going to be changing the settings for Class 3 speeds. Just to note that the throttle will kick off at 20 miles per hour, so you'll at least need to spin the pedals, even if it's just for looks, to get to the top speed of around 26 miles per hour, according to my GPS. Clearly, these testing conditions were less than ideal, but we made the most out of it, taking the bike out on the ice and even pulling the little ones. Do so yourself at your own risk. The moped styling worked in my favor for stability, and overall the bike performed better than expected in these conditions. The bike is IP67 water and dust proof for the electronics and connectors, and trust me, the bike had snow, dirt, and salt everywhere. So much so that I brought it inside for drying and a good wipe down before putting it in storage for safekeeping. My only complaint is that the fenders didn't do much to keep snow, mud from getting all over the bike, my jacket, helmet, etc. My wife, who is 5'5", also gave it a go and surprisingly fit on the Zugo Rhino well, though I'll reiterate that I think the step-through is the way to go on this e-bike, especially if you're on the shorter end. We even rode together, made possible by the elongated seat, and while I'm not going to say we had extra room with all of our winter gear on, we both did fit. By the way, an e-bike like this makes for the perfect date night. For those looking for a bit of cargo carrying capacity, Zugo sells a small rear rack capable of hauling 20 pounds of cargo. Zugo is a new brand to me, but they do advertise support during regular business hours during the week and even on Saturdays. For now, it's just the Rhino available for sale, so I'm curious where the company goes from here. I'd love to hear if you have any experience with the brand in the comments section below. And remember, if you plan to buy a Zugo e-bike, a direct way to support the channel is to use our affiliate link down in the description before you make your purchase. Let me know down in the comments section below what other moped style e-bikes you're considering. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.